Hall of Fame induction. It is good to see such a large crowd, so many boosters, fans. I see basketball and baseball players, volleyballers and softballers, tennis players and golfers, boxers are here, coaches, and I even see a homecoming queen. And all of us are Aggies. Tonight we will honor 7 deserving people that will be inducted into the class of 2012. At the end of the evening, the Cameron University Athletics Hall of Fame will consist of 35 people. Athletics at Cameron dates back to 1909, when Cameron fielded their first men's basketball and track teams. We've come a long way, and with every year, the rich history continues to grow in numbers and successes. Tonight you will hear stories of days past. I assume most of them will be true. But as we revisit the past, we light the path toward a bright future for the Aggies now and for generations to come. It is special to be an Aggie, and each and every one of us are special because we are the Cameron Aggies. For those, for those of you that have been around Cameron and the Lawton Fort Sill area, you have seen the changes of the landscape at Cameron and on campus. For those of you that have returned tonight after a while absence, I hope that you get a chance to see those changes. The person responsible for this positive transformation of Cameron University is our president, Dr. Cindy Ross.
We're delighted you're here. I also want to extend my congratulations to the 7 inductees and their families. Each of the 7 has permanently impacted this institution. They've impacted this institution through their athletic prowess or their support of athletics. And it is really an honor for Cameron University to have the opportunity to recognize these magnificent 7. You know, at Cameron University, we have a very ambitious agenda. Stated simply, we want to be number 1. We want to be the university of choice for students who graduate from high school in Southwest Oklahoma. We want to give those students the college experience of choice. We want to be the location of choice for the events in the community, and we want to be the partner of choice for local businesses and industries and schools. We want to be number 1. And when you look at those goals, you realize that athletics has a strong role to play if Cameron University is going to achieve them. Athletics is what ties the university together. It's that common bond that brings students together and brings the community to campus. Athletics creates tradition. Athletics establishes the university's identity. So athletics is critically important to what we're doing at Cameron University. I want to take the opportunity to thank each of you for being involved in athletics at Cameron University and for supporting this, your university, Cameron University. Thank you.
Before we get started with our introductions, I'd like to recognize some people that are with us tonight. Please hold your applause till we get done with each group. From the Executive Council, Vice President for University Advancement, Mr. Albert Johnson, and Vice President for Student Services, Jennifer Holland. Cameron Athletic Hall of Fame members with us tonight from the class of 2008. And if you just stand at your seat at your table, Mr. Herb Jacobs, Ms. Val Maples, Mr. Jackie Martin, Coach Ted Owens, and Dr. Bud Simon. From the class of 2009, Mr. Joe Jones. And representing Mr. Smokey Forward is his wife, Mary Ann, and sons Mark and David. From the class of 2010, and representing Mr. Ty Hirschler is his son, Gary Hirschler. And from last year's class, the class of 2011, returning tonight is Mr. Ed Marshall. I would like for the current athletic staff to stand and be recognized. Right now, the staff, coaches, GAs. Without a doubt, the best athletic staff in the Lone Star Conference, if not all of NCAA Division II. I am proud of you as a staff, what you stand for, your contributions to this great university and our community. Thank you. Let's get started. Our first inductee into the class of 2012.
Aggies from 1995 to 1999 under head coach Kim Vincent. She was arguably the best all-around volleyball player ever to wear the black and gold. Hillary came to Cameron as a middle blocker, converted to an outside hitter, and then returned to the middle position, filling the needs of the team. Hillary served as captain of the squad for 4 years, earning team MVP honors 3 times, and was named Lone Star Conference Honorable Mention, as well as being named the MVP of the Lone Star Conference Tournament in 1998. At graduation in 1999, she held 8 individual records, more than any other person. These included kills in a season, attacks in a match, season and career, career attack percentage, and digs in a match, season, and career. Upon arriving at Cameron, her #1 goal was to bring a championship banner in the Aggie gym. That goal was obtained in 1998 as she led the team to the first ever Lone Star Conference Championship. Hillary was a member of Cameron's first nationally ranked team, a member of Cameron's first Lone Star Conference Championship, and posted a winning record all 4 years playing for the Aggies. Now residing in Rancho Cordova, California, Hillary is with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Hillary Biggett Hubert.
Okay, so I know I'm supposed to be playing this cool, but this is really so much fun. I'm excited to be here, to see my coach, to see our banner, to have my family and friends here, and there's to be no crying, or I hope. I have to say all of the awards and accolades and statistics, all that stuff really isn't my thing. It's a bit uncomfortable for me, but in a very good way. Being inducted into the Athletic Hall of Fame is truly a surreal experience. Well, When it came time to write this speech, it proved to be much more difficult than I expected. What do I talk about? Of course, I've got a 10-minute time frame. I can start with my basic story. From Northern California, came out to Oklahoma at the age of 17 to play volleyball, which I already need to stop and thank my parents, not only for having me, but for letting me venture out of state and do some growing up on my own. They were continuously supportive with Sunday night phone calls and trips out to Lawton for Parents Weekend. Dad could always be counted on to talk volleyball. He even knew the name of each girl on the team, her position in hometown before he even met her. My parents were awesome and still are. Even with all of that, the move to Lawton was a bit of a culture shock. Thankfully for me, I had Luce. She was a piece of California, my friend, and if you didn't know, she was a damn good setter. All of which I could not have done without. Next on the list, I think, comes funny stories playing for Coach Vincent. And then I thought, what funny stories? I remember a whole lot of butt chewing and foot stomping. There was a time she took us to McDonald's for breakfast and lunch in the same day because we played so badly in the tournament, and I cannot stand McDonald's. Plus, we weren't allowed during the season to have soda or French fries, so what's that? I enjoy giving Coach a hard time, but she really is one of my favorite people in the world. I pulled out the journal Coach and Todd had us write in our senior year, hoping it would help me with my speech. It didn't, but it did remind me of how much time and effort Coach put into me. She'd write 2 or 3 pages of responses to my comments. Occasionally I'd be called a grumpy old woman, but mostly Coach helped me be a better leader in person. You know, back in the day, and you might get a lot of these tonight, but back in the day, the gym did not have air conditioning. No air conditioning in August in Oklahoma during 3 days was not for the faint of heart. There were no fancy buses. We took 2 vans everywhere. Thankfully, I sat, or mostly laid down, in the first seat behind Coach B in the sane and silent van, as I like to call it. In my freshman year, there was no cable TV. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is the stuff that builds character. And you know what else builds character? Hanging a banner. Okay, it might be a bit of a stretch, but truth be told, that banner was 4 years of hard work. It was my one goal from the second I got to Lawton, my reason for wanting to play volleyball after high school, and luckily for me, Coach Vincent and Luce are just as competitive as I am. Winning my banner, as I like to call it, in that championship game in 5 sets versus West Texas was amazing. It went so long that the VHS tape, not the DVD, the VHS tape ran. I'll never forget playing against 6'4" Sarah Butler in the middle, and thanking my lucky stars that I had spent hours in the gym practicing against our assistant coach Todd, who was also 6'4". If he was here today, I would thank him for making practice fun. I'll also never forget, in all the excitement of that evening, winning and bouncing around with joy, I got a big fat smooch from CU Eddie. See you time! Man, some memories, they just never fade. There were a few other perks for me coming to Cameron. I met my husband Tommy here, who is an athlete in his own right, playing men's tennis for Cameron. While he will admit that he started coming to watch women's volleyball for the spandex, he stuck around for me. Tommy has always been my biggest fan, listening to me complain when we would lose. Shoot, sometimes I'd be complaining when we won, so that was no small task, and I am so fortunate to have come. And we make pretty babies. We have 2 fantastic children, our daughter Cameron and son JT, I know I sound like the poster child for the school, naming my firstborn child after it. But actually, the story goes, we were having a girl and had no ideas for a name. We were at Tommy's parents' house, who I'd like to thank for being my home away from home while I was in college. Tommy was folding laundry, yes, he does laundry too, and held up one of our many Cameron University t-shirts and said, "What about Cameron?" That was it. That's where she got her name. Also, for those of you that can do the math, I graduated 13 years ago. My daughter's only 7. I can't say enough great things about Coach Vincent, my family, teammates, and what this experience of playing volleyball and attending Cameron University has meant to me. When I get asked, how did I end up at Cameron University, my reply is that I didn't pick my college picked me. And I am honored that you all picked me again.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matthew Rivera, and I serve as a student assistant in the Sports Information Department for the Aggies. Next year, I will complete my bachelor's degree in communications. It is my pleasure tonight to introduce our second inductee to the Cameron University Athletics Hall of Fame class of 2012, Mr. James Colbert. Mr. Colbert attended Cameron University from 1967 to 1971 and competed in football and track and field while completing his college degree. Football at Cameron has a rich history, and in last year's Hall of Fame ceremony, it became apparent that James was an outstanding quarterback deserving of this honor. In the 29 games after Cameron became a 4-year institution, James completed 158 of 345 passes with 3,020 yards and 31 touchdowns. Many of those passes were to 2001 Hall of Famer Ed Marshall. James threw for 936 yards and 8 touchdowns in his sophomore season, 1,239 yards and 15 touchdowns his junior season, and 845 yards and 8 touchdowns in his senior year. James Colbert was a two-sport student athlete as he competed in track and field as well with black and gold. He set the Oklahoma Collegiate Conference long jump record, 24 feet 8 inches in 1970, and also won the high jump event. James Colbert was a special man while at Cameron, serving as a leader within his teams and within the university. Mr. Colbert is still a special man today and every day, as he influences many of Lawton's youth, serving as a teacher and track coach at Lawton High School. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Lawton's own Mr. James Colbert.
I'd like to say first off, it is truly an honor to be here tonight. I'm very proud, so very proud to be a part of this Hall of Fame weekend. But the first thing that I would like to say is that I'm not here because of me alone. There are a lot of people that I'm going to thank tonight. Because they are the responsible for me being here. First of all, I think family comes first. I want to thank my mom and my dad for their support and their love for me, my 2 brothers, my sister. I couldn't ask for better parents. Now, a little bit more about the family. We were sports oriented. My dad played Summer League softball. He was a Little League coach. I had 2 brothers that were very good athletes in a number of sports. They eventually went on, both of them eventually went on to be in the NFL. Mom liked to watch football. She liked to watch baseball. Then again, my sister, that's a different story. She didn't care anything about sports. Now, coming from a family of sports fanatics, she didn't know the difference between a touchdown and a home run. And she didn't care if she found out. The biggest thing about her is that she always supported us, as brothers, supported whatever we did. Even though she didn't know what was going on, she gave us a support. I love her for that. As far as high school is concerned, I went to Booker T. Washington High School in Wichita Falls, Texas. Growing up in Wichita Falls, my biggest dream was being a baseball player. I wanted to be a pitcher in Major League Baseball. And I didn't get into football or track until about my sophomore year in high school. Now, how I got in football in high school is kind of strange. I was kind of discovered at a carnival. Okay, what happened was that our high school would host a spring carnival there, and they'd have all these type of booths and activities set up and all this stuff. And you can go down and see, pay and whatever it was we were doing. But anyway, in the gym, they had this barrel on a mount. I'm trying to describe it. Anyway, the bottom was cut out of it and had a hole in it about the ring, about the size of a basketball goal. And the point was you had to throw 3 out of 5 footballs through that barrel. And so I said, well, I'd like to try this. I like broken things, so I'm going to try this. So I threw the first 3 out of the 5 footballs through the barrel. It was about 20 yards away. And the assistant football coach happened to be at the carnival that day. And he heard about what had happened. He ran in there, and when he found me, he just looked at me and said, "Colbert, you're going to be out for football this upcoming season." And he didn't ask me if I was interested. He asked me what I think about it. Okay, that's the way it was done in those days. When adults tell you to do something, you make it. You didn't ask me. So, I want to thank Coach Moore for that. He was the individual that got me into football. I need to thank him for that. I want to thank Coach Irvin Garnett, our head coach, for teaching me how to play position football. Coach Garnett was an outstanding football coach in Prairie View and in himself. So I had a good tutor. He taught me everything that I could possibly know about the position. And I really, really thank him for that. Now, as far as track is concerned, I kind of got into that. Excuse me. I kind of got into that because of my friends. That's where all my friends were. They're out for track, so I'm going to go out to track. That's how I ended up in track. And ended up liking it a lot because of the nature of it. In track, you're kind of on your own. You don't have any help. You don't have anything but your ability and your confidence. You could be dealing with any number of people. It taught me a lot of stuff because track doesn't have a gray area. It's either satisfying or it's either extremely unforgiving. But it didn't make any difference to me. I just loved to compete. That was the satisfying part about it to me. And that's why I got really into track. Really loved it a lot, and I'm coaching it to this day. Cameron, in here, I was recruited by Leon Woodson as a quarterback. As a matter of fact, he recruited 6 of us from Booker T. He signed all 6. Coach Woodson was seemed to be a very sincere individual. Very sincere individual. Matter of fact, out of the 6 people he recruited, he also recruited wide receiver Roosevelt White, who is here tonight with me. And I've been friends for a long time. We grew up together. We've been friends forever. Now, the reason I mentioned that Coach Woodson recruited me as a quarterback, Cameron, I was recruited by other schools also, but they were recruiting me for what they called, I don't understand this, recruiting me, how they put it, as an athlete. I never did understand that. Okay, so, that was too much of a gray area for me, being recruited as an athlete. But that was a sign of the times, okay? And given the position I played, I was a quarterback. Now, during the time I was playing, there were not a whole lot of black quarterbacks. In college, at predominantly white institutions. But that did not seem to be an issue. Did not seem to be an issue at Cameron. And I don't think Coach Woodson, but it's honesty, as far as recruiting is concerned. And I have to give a lot of credit to Barrett Jensen for giving me the opportunity to be a starting quarterback at Cameron. I know it was probably a challenging decision for him, but he gave me the opportunity, and I just tried to make it right. Now, my freshman year, I had a few doubts. I thought I was doing pretty good in drills, all this stuff, and I said, I think I have a chance to start as a freshman. And all of a sudden, for the first game of the season, a week before, I was designated scout team quarterback. You know, that's the guy that runs the opponent's plays. You know, against our first-ranked defense. So that's not a negative thing. I mean, that was a negative thing, you know, to most people. But I want to turn it into a positive. At least I'll get to do one thing. I'll get to show the coaches and the players what I can do. I can play this position regardless of whatever offense I am supposed to run or imitate. And I guess in 3 weeks, I graduated from scout team quarterback to starting quarterback, 4th football game of my freshman year. So I guess I did okay, as far as that is concerned. Now, as far as my junior year is concerned, I did start 6 games my freshman year. As far as my junior year, and I'll jump to that. Going to Barrett Jensen, Barrett, you have to know him too. Barrett would say anything that came to his mind in one certain term, he didn't like to talk about it. I got a phone call that informed me that Barrett just wanted to see me in his office. I didn't know what to think walking to the Coach Jensen office, knowing how he is. So, when I got to the office, Barrett's always smoking his pipe, he looks at you kind of funny and all that. And he said, Jamie, what did you call me, Jamie? Jamie, I'm going to tell you something. You are my quarterback. You are my quarterback. And something else, I want you to call your own plays. I want you to open the offense up. Now, I told him, thank you, Coach Jensen. You will not regret this. And he said, I hope not. That's bad. That's a lot of encouragement when I read, I hope not. But at any rate, I think this decision was made because of the excellent talent of Ed Marshall. Ed Marshall was the best wide receiver in college at any level. The bottom line, or the message Coach Jensen was trying to get to me, was get the ball to Kundo. Any way you can. That's basically the way that went. But again, I want to thank Ed, because Ed is here tonight. He flew in from Corpus Christi to just for this occasion. Now, Ed was more than just a great receiver. Ed's great friend. And Ed is basically one of the big reasons that I'm studying under tonight. And I want to thank you for that. And as far as team, the team is responsible. The teams that I played on, again, are responsible for me being here. The linemen that I played with, Leroy Taylor, Kenny Davis, Eddie Paul, Randy Marvel, these guys, people who kept me out of the hospital. Great running backs, Marvin Brixey, Killer Johnson, these type people, great individuals to play football, and great wide receivers, Roosevelt Fly. We had George Jones, Carl Benton, and of course, the greatest wide receiver in the history of Cameron College, Ed Marshall. But in closing, I want to let you know that this honor represents my family. It represents my former teammates and coaches. It represents my friends. And it represents Cameron College. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Mikhail Reed, and I serve as the graduate assistant for the playoff-bound Aggie men's basketball team. I am completing my bachelor's degree this year in sports administration. It is my honor tonight to introduce to you our third inductee to the Cameron University Athletic Hall of Fame class of 2012, Mr. Charlie Dean. Mr. Dean served as Leroy Montgomery's line coach from 1955 to 1963. He also served as Cameron's boxing coach from 1956 to 1957. Charlie Dean was a Lawton native and attended Lawton High School until his junior year when he joined the Merchant Marines, where he served in Europe, Asia, and Africa. He never graduated from high school. He returned to Lawton and enrolled in 2 classes during the summer at Cameron in 1946. When he tried to enroll in the fall semester, he was told he could not attend Cameron because he didn't have a high school diploma. Upon informing the dean that he had in fact taken 2 classes and received an A in math and a B+ in history, the dean, after confirming its truth, allowed Charlie to enroll in Cameron as a full-time student. Charlie played lineman for the football Aggies for 2 years at 178 pounds. His 1947 team earned a trip to the Junior Rose Bowl, where they were defeated for the national championship. Coach Dean and Coach Montgomery were joined at the hip and made a quite a dynamic duo coaching staff. Coaching the 1961 Junior Rose Bowl national champions and having their 1960 team be declared the national champions were the highlights of Coach Dean's Cameron career. This is the 3rd Hall of Fame that Coach Dean will be a part of, as he was inducted into the Washington State, Bellevue, Inland Empire Hall of Fame in Spokane, Washington, and the Central Valley High School Hall of Fame, both in 2009. Charlie Dean passed away in March of 2009 at the age of 83. His family is unable to be with us tonight, but the second for Coach Charlie Dean is one of his former football players and a member of the 1961 Junior Rose Bowl championship team, Mr. Lonnie Morrison. Ladies and gentlemen, for Coach Charlie Dean, Mr. Lonnie Morrison.
Quick to remind me that was not for me. I understood that. My name is Lonnie Morrison, and it's a great privilege for me to be here tonight and accept this high honor on behalf of Charlie Dean. As has been said, Charlie Dean was the line coach with Leroy Montgomery's teams from 1955 to 1963. Together, those two were an awesome team. Individually, they were just the same awesome. They were capable of molding a group of farm boys, big city tough kids, high school heroes, and as Coach Dean would say, other pantyweights, into a team. Well, Mr. Reed said they were joined at the hip. They were not in every way two peas from the same pod. There were lots of differences between them. In a minute, I want to say a couple of remarks that I think Coach Dean would say, but before I do, I'd like to first just a second and say, Mr. Colbert, we had a black quarterback in 1961, and we had an American Indian quarterback, Byron Beavers, the year before in 1960. So these guys were way ahead of schedule. The Civil Rights Act passed in 1964, and I can assure you there was lots of discrimination on the Cameron football team, but it had nothing to do with race. It had to do with other qualities. If Coach Dean were here tonight, I would tell him, Coach, I've continued to follow what you've told me I needed to do. I haven't been very successful in gaining speed, but I'm still working on that weight, and I'm doing pretty good with that. From this point on, I'm not going to say what I think about Coach Dean. I'm going to say what I think he would say if he were here tonight. I think if Coach Dean were here tonight, he'd look over this audience and he'd say, President Ross, Dorothy Faye Montgomery and family, distinguished guests, friends, great honor you've bestowed upon me tonight. This is something that's among the highest honors that I've ever received. I consider this to be the zenith of my career. It's a great honor to me tonight to be inducted in the same class with Coach Leroy Montgomery, who I admire, respect. Now, Coach Montgomery and I worked together as a team to build the team. We always did that. But we didn't see everything exactly eye to eye. Coach Montgomery looked through his telescope at a player and he said, I want to answer these questions about this potential player on my team. Can he do it? Does he have the speed, the internal geometry to calculate angles and speeds and the best course of action to get to the goal line? And does he have heart? If those things were present, Coach Montgomery, I think, must have believed if he can do it, I can inspire him to get it done. And he has a great record of that. Now, on behalf of myself, Coach Dean, I think that's a wonderful philosophy, but there's another aspect of this evaluation process that I want to use. It's almost like a proof check of some kind. When Coach Montgomery selects these athletes and brings them in here, I want to see not just can he do it, but will he do it? And I've got a way to find out whether he will do it. Down on the west end of the practice field, there's a, Dottie and I looked at it today, and it didn't seem to be as steep as I remembered. I think it looked like today it was only at about
about a 45-degree angle. I was thinking it was straight up. But Coach Dean would assemble the crew at the bottom of that hill, and he wanted to find out, is this player a player who will charge that hill ferociously, even if he has blisters on his feet? Will he do it if he has sore muscles? Will he do it if he's just getting over a Charlie horse? Will he do it if he's exhausted? You know, I want to see if he will do it. Charlie Dean's philosophy was, there's a price to win, and I only want players who will pay that price without any compromise or complaint. I want somebody who will do the kinds of things that this exercise demonstrates the difficulty of doing. I never did really believe, and especially years later, that that was as much of a conditioning drill as it was an effort to see who would put out, who would fight to do what he was challenged to do, who wanted to get it done. Nobody liked it. There were other differences between Coach Montgomery and Coach Dean. Coach Montgomery reserved unto himself the sole responsibility of player discipline. If it had been up to me, Coach Dean, it'd been a lot worse. Coach Montgomery had a heart. Coach Dean had a hill. We would probably have seen a lot of it. Together, though, these two representatives of the greatest generation really were the greatest. They not only produced good football teams consistently, not just those two you see, but I saw the two that I told Dottie one day when I was feeling especially humble, I had teammates that won the national championship. And 2 years in a row, and that's not all they did. When Coach Montgomery and Coach Dean had a player, they stayed with you, and they wanted you to succeed, not just on the day that you finished the last game, but thereafter. I received calls over the years encouraging, inquiring, suggesting, so forth, the entire period of time that Coach Montgomery and Coach Dean were on this earth. Two great men. On behalf of, and I'm getting a little off of speaking on Coach Dean's part here, I'm back to my own praise. But on behalf of myself and the whole Dean family, I want to thank you for this really great award, and I appreciate it, and it'll be of great meaningful significance to us. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brian Wyatt, and I serve as the graduate assistant for the Cameron Aggie baseball team. And I will finish my master's in secondary education next spring. It's my pleasure to introduce our fourth inductee tonight to the 2012 Hall of Fame. And I'm here to introduce Leroy Montgomery as the inductee. Coach Montgomery is a Lawton native. He started in football, basketball, and track, rather, at Lawton High. He played for the Cameron football team in 1946 and 1948, and then earned a scholarship and finished his degree at Midwestern Wichita Falls. Upon completion, he began his coaching Cameron coaching career as an assistant coach in 1953 and became the head coach in 1955. At this time, he also served as the athletic director for the school. Some of his accolades, again, include the 1960, 1961 national championship teams. During his time here as the head coach, his record was 65-25, and his teams won 35 of the 40 games played between 1960 and 1963. Coach Montgomery left Cameron University after the 1963 season, and other coaching stints included Dodge City Junior College, Kansas State University, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers of the Canadian Football League, the University of Arkansas, and many other high school programs. Coach Leroy Montgomery passed away in 1993 at his home in Plano, Texas. His family is here with us tonight and accepting the honor on behalf of Coach Montgomery is his son Mike, and ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mike Montgomery.
Thank you very much. It's really a big honor for me to be able to come before you, and it's also a humble feeling. I want to tell you that it's an honor to represent my family here. And Coach Montgomery, Cameron was a really important part of my growing up. I rode on the bus, on out-of-town games up in the Lake tracks. Time I was in the second grade, probably through the seventh. Never really missed a game that I recall. So it had a lot of influence on me, and a lot of these gentlemen that are out here tonight that were ex-players, I pretty much modeled my athletic career after things that I picked up like kids do. So it's an honor to represent my family and to accept this award from Coach Leroy Montgomery in his induction into the Cameron University Athletic Hall of Fame. I'm humbled to stand before you, as I mentioned. Many of you that I watched with a great deal of interest as a kid, as kids do. And I'd also like to thank the men and the women that are out in the audience that have supported not only when my dad was here and Coach Dean and the athletes that are here, but the support that you've given. It's very important, and it just doesn't happen without you. So thank you very much. Before I go any further, I don't know if this is inappropriate or not, but my cousins traveled from New Mexico and Arizona to come in here tonight, and I'd like to recognize their table if they please stand. I'd like to also mention that my mom's sister, my Aunt Margot, who was my second mother growing up, is also sitting at that table and lives in Oklahoma City. My brother and his wife Beth, Monty Ray, and his wife Beth are also sitting at the table. And Chase and Clay are also over here. My wife Deborah is sitting right here, and I want to thank her. And my sister Patty is back sitting next to my brother. But I've got to stop for a moment, and the pillar of strength, probably the best damn Cameron fan that ever came through this place, Leroy Montgomery's wife and our mother, Dorothy Faye Montgomery. Mom was a second mom to a lot of the kids that were here in school, and I think that they all appreciated that. I have one other request, if you'll just just bear with me for a second. If you played under Coach Montgomery and you happen to be in the audience, or you were a trainer or associated with his athletic program, if you just stand for a moment so people can recognize you. And again, as I mentioned before, I'd like to thank all the financial supporters, the people that live in Lawton and around surrounding areas that contribute to this program at Cameron University, the athletic program, and to the school itself. You know, the curtain never rises if you guys don't help financially. Things just don't happen. So I know that I speak for the president and the athletic director and thanking you for your consistent assistance. Coach Montgomery, Leroy, Dad. I'm sure hearing that for many of you makes you mentally recall something about him. I don't know if it was that jaw full of Red Man that he consistently had in his mouth, the bag of juice dripping out of his side, while you're trying to concentrate vaguely on what he's telling you. Or it might be a yell on play that he hollered at you that he hadn't blown the whistle yet. Until he blew the whistle, you were to continue to run or to tackle or to block. Or maybe it was some of those grass drills that Coach Dean and Coach Montgomery in their demonic state with design to absolutely drain every bit of energy that you had out of your body. Or maybe it was one of those leapfrog drills that they used to do at the end of practice when you would run 10 or 15 yards and drop on all fours, and the next guy behind you would jump over you and go another 10 or 15 yards, and you would continue to do that around the field and around the field and around the field until your legs felt like jelly and you were just certain that you couldn't go any farther. Or maybe it was those 2 days that you had in August where your body was so sore and your body would say, let's quit. Let's just quit. But your mind wouldn't let you do that. It would say no. Because your mind is controlled by your character. What you are to do. And Coach Montgomery knew that, and Coach Dean knew that when they recruited kids to come to this school. They recruited character first. And as Lonnie mentioned, heart. Your character, you had to have it. You had to have desire, and you had to be and become mentally tough. You would develop your potential while you were at Cameron. And many of us have seen potential without development. It's just a long word that means nothing. Your conduct, what you do, you become. And that changes over time as you begin to get confidence and you accomplish things. Coach Montgomery was unique. He had great instincts. When he analyzed the kid to come to school where he recruited, he would really look at that young man and say, does he have the ability and quality, can he add quality to my ball club? Was the school a good fit for the kid? Could he do it academically, physically? Or would he have to break his plate at some point? He was a great organizer. You know, coaches, unless you've been a coach's son or been a coach, you may not realize this, but there's only 24 hours in a day. The coach needs really 27 to get everything done. They got to recruit, they have to organize practices, tape angles, wash jocks, socks, tees. Scouting reports, breaking down the next opponent through film, travel arrangements, talking to the press, keeping those gold helmets really gold, choosing uniforms and equipment, and on and on and on. but it all eventually gets done. Coach Montgomery was a leader, a visionary, communicator, and motivator, and probably one of the best recruiters ever to knock on any kid's door. He did it here at Cameron, he did it at K-State, he did it at the University of Arkansas. He knew that special qualities were required to recruit, and he knew he had those special qualities. He felt like when you recruit a kid, you have an oath to their mom and dad to return their sons, their kids, as men. If you don't do that, then your organization, your university, your athletic program has failed. Once the kid enrolls at your school, you have an investment in him. It was the coach's responsibility to make sure that the kid was advancing on his career. Coach Montgomery said that his philosophy, and this is a quote, was when you take a young man into your university, you as a coach and an athletic department have sealed enough to the parents to do all in your power to develop a young man that will go out into society and make this a better world to live in. One other unique thing about Coach Montgomery, it's already been mentioned, was he was colorblind. He started a black quarterback in 1961. I was with him one time when a kid hadn't shown up for practice, and he inquired to one of the schools, Lawton Douglas, went down to see Coach King, I believe it was. And Coach King said that, well, this kid lived down the road ways outside of town. So we went out there, and Dad goes to see this young man. And he walks out there and he says, "Where were you? Missed practice today?" And he said, "Coach, I just don't have any clothes." It's not really hard. So he took off his shirt and gave it to him. He said, "Well, you got a shirt now. Let's go get some more stuff and let's get started on school." He would go by for room check at night to check on the kids and ask them if they had written their moms. And if the kid hesitated, he said, "Okay, here's the deal. Write the letter tonight, you bring it to me, I'll put the stamp on it tomorrow." He cared about people. He cared about their life plan. It wasn't just lip service. He really did. And as a result, he put men in this world to make it a better place. Dads and grandpas, men that are businessmen, builders, doctors, lawyers, workers, educators, farmers, and ranchers. As part of this university's program, I hope you never, ever, ever forget that you stand on other people's shoulders that have sacrificed so much for this school. Thank you.
tireless worker, a supporter, and a friend of many coaches, players, and athletic directors over the 67-plus years that Tuffy has been with the Aggies. Mr. Roberts attended Cameron University in 1945 through 46 and spent 32 years with the Transportation Department at Fort Sill. During that period, he served on the JC Classic Basketball Tournament Committee, which is one of the nation's premier junior college basketball events. He was instrumental in fundraising efforts for projects. These projects enabled Cameron to play in 2 Junior Rose Bowl football championship games, 3 NAIA National Football Playoffs, and several national basketball tournaments. When money was short, which was often, Tuffy would either call on his connections or go out and make a connection in order for the teams to travel, purchase needed equipment, and build and/or improve our facilities. Tuffy, along with Hall of Famer Smokey Torbert, and many others, always found a way to get it done. Tuffy has rubbed elbows with many a celebrity and star, but he has 2 true loves, our Cameron Aggies and his wife, Lou, of 65 years. They reside in Woodbridge, Oklahoma. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce to you Mr. Carl Tuffy Roberts.
Yay, Tuffy.
I'm Doug Roberts, and it's a joy to be here. I was talking to Albert Jr., and I said, this might be a little bit like Jerry Earnshire deal we had last year. Albert Jr. was supposed to get up and talk, and Albert Sr. took over, so Dad jumps up anytime. I just want to stop it. Well, it's such a joy to be here, and we so appreciate just y'all honoring Dad and for the years of what he did for Cameron, and just all the stuff. I wasn't going to do like you might. It's hard to do it. Dad and Mom came to Cameron in 1945, and they lived at West Hall. Mom worked at Fort Sill. They were married in 1946 and lived in the married dorm. And because of the expense of having a wife and starting a family, Dad needed a job. So Mom was working at Fort Sill, and she introduced him to the boss that she was working for. And they hired Dad at Fort Sill as a janitor, he said. And he stayed there 30-some years, ended up being transportation manager when he left in GS-12, which was quite an honor himself. But during that time, he learned a lot of trades of just organizing stuff and traveling and doing all of the stuff you have to do in the military to move the troops and the equipment and stuff. And he took that experience and came to Cameron because he had such a love for the school and the athletic department. And him and Smokey Torbert was very instrumental in starting the Booster Club because I always thought growing up as a kid we had these athletes at the house. Some of them ended up, still alive today. Jim Lou Allen, I don't know how many nights he spent the night at our house. I'd go to bed as a kid and wake up and there'd be football players, and I don't know who all would be in the house. I'd wake up the next morning. And I always thought just because they liked Dad, but I found out that Dad and Smokey was treasurers of the Booster Fund, and they had these little things called $20 bills. It just really gave them favor with the athletes. I don't know if that's legal today, but it was back then. Dad and Smokey both had a heart just to see the Camerons excel, and they had a desire just to see the stadium filled, and so they went around raising money and getting business to buy tickets and to buy things, and it was just, it was a fun time. I remember growing up with Ed Too Tall Jones, a big old basketball player. He was, I don't know, the first 6-foot-something Cameron players they had. I was about that big, and that's the first time I ever slam dunked a basketball. Ed Too Tall, he picked me up. Jim Barnes picked me up. I got to slam dunk the ball, and he was a big old boy. But during those times, they would raise money and put on trips. And then in the early 70s, I was farming over at Frederick, and I get a call from Dad one day, and said, "Do you have any alfalfa?" And I said, "Yeah, I got some alfalfa." And he said, "Well, I need a bell." I said, "What do you need a bell for?" He said, "Well, I've got a airline rep here, and he needs a bale of green hay. Can you bring one over?" And I said, "Well, yeah, what do you need?" He said, "Well, right now." So I got in the truck and I brought over a bale of hay, and I go to Fort Sill and I carry in this bale of alfalfa hay in Dad's office. And here's this representative. So we put it in his trunk, and he was really happy. And Dad said, "Now remember, you owe me a favor." He said, "Yeah, anything you need." He said, "Well, I need some airplane tickets to go to New Orleans." He said, "Okay." How many tickets? Well, I really don't know, but I'll need a few. And the guy said, "Okay." So he called out there. I think it's Frontier Airline, maybe Delta. He called out there and said, "Tuffy Roberts is going to be calling. You just give him what he wants." Well, Dad comes down there and reserves the whole plane. It goes from Lawton to New Orleans at $38 a ticket round trip. And that's when a bunch of us went down to the, I think that was when we went to Xavier and played basketball down there, and that same year went to Kansas City and won the national champion. It was quite a year. But Dad had always taken joy in just raising money. And him, Smokey, I don't know how many hours they put just knocking on people's doors and doing different things for the school. And, you know, Dad helped out in several areas. I remember after he retired, Jerry Earnshire was the coach, and I think, was it Moses then Jerry? I forget. Jerry had been here so long, I think he could be Moses before he came. But anyway, Jerry needed help, and so he asked Dad. So Dad would take one team, and Jerry would take the other team. And so he traveled as a coach on the golf team, and I think they won a couple of tournaments they went there. Came in second a time or two. I don't know. They had a pretty good team, and Dad always took pride in that. And I don't know if that's why Jeremy got to try it for the golf team here or not, because he was Tuffy's grandson. Everybody should play golf. I never did ask Jerry. We just appreciate him letting him play. But you know, another time he went out to Las Vegas with R.T. Toma and the girls basketball team. And R.T. and Tuffy had a lot of things in common, and neither one of them really liked the way the referees would call the game. And this particular game, R.T. got kicked out. And I think, Joe, you've probably been playing in that game.
Yes, I was.
And so here they were, the girls with no coach. And they looked up and they asked Dad to come down and to finish coaching the basketball, the girls' game there. And I thought, you know, that was kind of a miracle because R.T. just got kicked out. Well, it's going to keep Dad from being kicked out. He dealt with Louis more than anybody. But did y'all win that game or lose that game? I don't remember that. But anyway, so Dad not only was a booster, but he was assistant golf coach, and I guess that made him assistant girls basketball coach. And so, you know, just over the years growing up, I'm here as a kid with Leroy and all the different Gerald Stockton and all the coaches that Dad was around, just growing up as a young boy, just the things they did. You know, Dad's heart was his family and then Cameron. Well, you know, he loved Cameron University, and he, you know, the years he spent out here, just the people we met like Leroy Montgomery, Charlie Dean, Ted Owens, Red Miller, Lonnie Nichols, Jerry Earnshire, Gerald Stockton, Don Meredith, Mickey Mantle, Johnny Bench. You know, you talk about his kids growing up. You know, I came home one day and Mickey Mantle was in the house. Oh, that's pretty cool. You know, Mickey Mantle sounded baseball, gave it to Doug from Mickey. And we went out and played baseball. You already have that baseball day. You know, Don Meredith gave me a football. I don't have that football day. Johnny Bench gave me a baseball. I don't have that baseball day. But just growing up, you know, I was you know, when you have Mickey Mantle in your house, the rest of the kids kind of thought you must be somebody, you know, in the neighborhood. So that was always fun growing up. But, you know, Dad's love for Cameron and just the things him and Smokey and Jim Shaw and some of the other people in the community did was such a blessing. And I want to just thank Herb Jacobs and for the things he did and the things he writes. It's just been a blessing to our family. And, you know, in Dad's words, he's a lot of things he wanted to talk about, but we was told by somebody, I'm not going to say it, but I think it's the AD here, said there's not enough time for Dad to get up and talk with all the stories he could tell. But Dad really, you know, he just appreciates Cameron, and he appreciates where Cameron is today. And he's so proud of Dr. Ross and the staff and just the people, the employees at Cameron University and what the school has become. And just I mean, look around. It's such a different place, both in the, you know, in the looks and in just the growth. And, you know, without men like Tuffy and Smokey and without the coaches, you know, Cameron couldn't be what it is today. And now with Dr. Ross taking the lead and making even the next step, you know, Dad's so thankful for that and that his labors wasn't in vain. And on behalf of Tuffy, I just want to say thank you. We appreciate it and look forward to the years ahead.
She is Cameron's all-time leading scorer with 1,602 points. Her totals of 574 points and a 15.1 average as a sophomore, 514 points and a 16.5 average as a junior, and 532 points and 16.1 average as a senior confirms her steady and consistent play. Jo was named the NAIA All-American Team, earning honorable mention honors in 1983. One of the team's highlights while Jo was playing was when the Aggies upset eventual national champions, Southwestern Oklahoma State University, and moved to the Aggies qualifying for the District 9 playoffs. During Jo Tsuda's 3 years at Cameron University, she was the team's leader and the centerpiece of the Black and Gold. Residing in Weatherford, Texas, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Ms. Jo Tsuda.
Tell some stories, something? No. Say wisely, take some value. Well, everybody's come up here, and mine's going to be short and sweet. As Josie said, I reside now in Weatherford, Texas, and as much as I hate to admit that now that I'm in Oklahoma again, it's wonderful to be back here at Cameron University. It's been a long time, and there's been a lot of changes. And it's nice to see Cameron grow. It really is. I want to take time out, though, just to, I've received a few awards, and I always like to just come up and shake hands and then go back and sit down. So this is the first award that I've ever had to come up and give a little speech, okay? But I want to take the time out. This is the ultimate award that I can receive. If you would have told me that way back when I was a kid, I probably would have just said, no way. But I can sit here and say that growing up, my dad was a coach, Eastern Oklahoma, and pretty much a gym rat. I think I started being in the gym 3 or 4 years old, thinking basketball was bigger than me. And I remember one time, Christmas, and I don't even know how old I was, Mom. We had Christmas stockings, and my parents could have bought me a brand new car. My favorite gift that year was a pair of sweatbands. And I probably wore those sweatbands even when I was a kid. That's how much I just, everything that was a part of basketball, I loved. So, I was very fortunate. I was kind of like James. I was very fortunate to have wonderful parents. I have brothers and I have sisters, and all of us, we were taught, and Dad instilled in us to be the best that we could be, no matter what we wanted to be. So just drive, And he said, you know, be the best you can be. So it comes from family, and I have my sister here, I have my brother here, I have my dad's brother, Uncle Ray, and I have a lot of other relatives back there in the back, and I just want to say thanks for showing up. Thanks for being a part of me, and that's the reason why I'm up here tonight. So I want you guys to know that. I have a sister here that I'm going to have to tell a funny story on. She's probably not going to like it. The Suda family is really from the Walters area, so Uncle Ray has been in education, so they've been all around. A bunch of you guys I'm sure know. But when I was a freshman in high school at Navajo, my oldest sister, Jonna, was a senior in high school. And of course we played together. I was very lucky to be able to play on the varsity team my freshman year. And Jonna was the outside girl, and I was a jump shooter. And I usually scored more points than she did. She wasn't very happy about it. So we played, I think, in the Commonwealth Conference tournament. It was on a Saturday night. And it's like Jonna said today when we were sitting in the motel room, she said, I could have thrown the ball behind my back, underneath my leg, any way I wanted to shoot it, and the ball would go in the hole that night. She probably scored maybe 34 or 35 points. And I think I might have scored maybe 15 points that night. Well, that Sunday morning we were eating breakfast, and Mom got out the newspaper and was reading the newspaper and looking at it, this and that. And there was this big, huge picture of a Navajo player talking about Jonna scoring all the points that she scored. Well, guess whose picture was in it? It wasn't Jonna's, so needless to say, there was a little sisterly spat there. But we enjoyed our year together, and it's, again, like I said, to me, it boils down to family. And right now, tonight, I feel a part of my family, and I feel, again, a part of Cameron's family. And it feels good. The years that I had here was wonderful. Tuffy was always around. R.T. Toma, he was a great guy. We had some good times, didn't we, Tuffy? I remember that night in Vegas when you had to coach. You remember what you told us? I don't know what R.T.'s telling you to do, but y'all just get on out there and do it. So, and I want to thank, I know there's probably not the girls that we played with here. There was a lot of girls that were originally around this area. RT made it to where it was like one big family, and I will be honest with you, RT took care of us. He was a great guy. He was super, he took care of his girls. I promise that. But I just want to take time out. And I want to thank Cameron University again, and I want to thank God for letting all of this happen to me. I can shoot the ball, but I really believe in my heart it was a God-given talent. Shooters are shooters. Throwers are throwers. It's a talent that sometimes is just given to you. And I had a wonderful basketball career. I'm sure a lot of you know Janice Beach. She was my high school coach. And mean as can be, and to this day, she's still mean as can be. But I love her. I wouldn't be who I was as a ball player if it wasn't for her. She kind of kept me, whipped me in shape like I did. So I want to again say thank you. And there's one man that's very important in my life, and unfortunately tonight he couldn't be with us, but he's with us in spirit. And I know right now he's upstairs and he's looking down at me with a big old smile on his face, saying, "I'm proud of you." So I just want to say thank you, Daddy.
I'm the president of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. and I'm also a member of the playoff-bound Aggie women's basketball team. It is my honor tonight to introduce the 7th and final inductee into the Cameron University Athletic Hall of Fame class of 2012, Mr. Robert Whitman. Mr. Whitman attended Cameron University from 1985 to 1989. The ultimate student athlete, Robert shined on the football field and in the classroom. He was a 4-year starter at running back, rushing for 2,950 yards, making him the all-time Cameron leading receiver. He was named the Aggie Football Player of the Year in 1988. Robert Whitman was a key contributor to the 1986 team that finished runner-up for the national championship and again for the 1987 team that won it all and claimed the NAIA national championship. Twice he was voted all-conference player and was named the offensive MVP of the national quarterfinal game in 1987. After his 40-year eligibility ran out, he served as a student assistant coach in 1989. Robert was more than a football player, and as I mentioned earlier, he started in the classroom. He was a member of the President's Honor Roll, a member of Phi Kappa Phi Honor Society, and a Presidential Leadership Scholar. Robert Whitman was a special student athlete and was well liked by his teammates and students. Residing in Arlington, Texas, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Robert Whitman.
Well, I need to take her around with me everywhere. Mine's going to be shorter than yours, Joe, I think. And I know everybody else out there is thinking that too. It is very honoring and especially humbling to be up here in front of all of you. To be able to get recognized for something I just love to do. And at a place that I love to do it at. I've been blessed my entire life. God has blessed me in so many ways. Parents, work ethic, toughness, those things came from them. Just a couple of quick stories of my dad. Broke my ankle in my sophomore year in high school. Didn't know it broke at the time. He's down on the sideline. Tell him, tape it up, get him back in. Never went back in, but by halftime, I was jogging on it because my dad told me to. That's some of the difference. My senior year, another broken bone, of course. Broke my forearm my senior year, middle of the season. My mom and dad are trying to find places to find a doctor that will let me wear a cast, temporary cast, so I can finish out playing my senior year. That's the type of work ethic, toughness, just different things that I got from my parents. And I do have to thank my mom for not coming down on the sideline during those times. Had a great family life. My sister, 9 years older than me, she thought from what I understand, my mom tells me, she thought I was her. She carried me around everywhere. My brother, maybe a little different story. Also hear a story from my mom on him the day they brought me home from the hospital. She opens up the bedroom door. He's leaned over the crib, whipping me with a switch. In his own way, he taught me some toughness as well. High school, very fortunate to be a part of great coaches and great teammates. Again, God's blessed me in so many ways and continues to do so. Even have some people from all the way from Hollis, Oklahoma, here tonight that originally started there. Bill Cummins and his wife, Kip and his wife, originally from Hollis, and also family. So I do want to thank them, but again, it just comes back from that. Things that I've learned over time that they taught. It wasn't me. I didn't have all this supernatural ability. Didn't have that. It comes from what I've learned over the years. That was back when high school days. That was kind of back when weights were starting to happen. It wasn't really big back then. So we did other things. Hauled hay with the old bales of hay that we used to haul. My brother used to be the coach at that time. Married to my mom now. How that happened, I'm not sure. Hauled hay with him. He took the worst jobs out there. Nobody wanted. We took the jobs nobody else wanted. But again, those are just some things that growing up that's helped me along. College, of course, here. I knew there was just something about coming to Cameron. I took different recruiting trips to different places. But when I got here, there was just something about it. Coach Neighbor, the school, there was just something about Cameron. My brother-in-law, I have to rebuke him ever so often. He still thinks it was because of the mud or the Mad Dog. No, it's not. We had a great time. We started out, that first year we were like 3-7, but there was still something about it. There was still something there. Never been to an off season like that after that first year. Coaches put us through that. I can still remember Coach Schauble. He was offensive line coach, strength and conditioning coach. I didn't know what I got into. I came from a little small town. Did every sport. Didn't really know what that off season was about. Found that out real quick. Been through some ups and downs. Some of you may remember the Golden Aggie bus. That wasn't much fun to ride on. That was pretty rough. We took the trip out to Silver City, New Mexico, played Western New Mexico. Herb reminded me about that earlier. The field was up on top of a mountain. The wind was blowing like 40 miles an hour. I remember before the game very vividly. We were warming up. Punters doing their little punt routine. The ball actually blew down the hill, out of the stadium and down the hill. Not an exaggeration. We had went from those areas from that time to winning that. Going to the national runner-up the next year from 3-7 to making it to the championship game, to the next year actually being able to win it, which, that no words can describe that. No words can ever describe that feeling that we had at that time. But that all came not from me. Again, I told you God's blessed me. He blessed me with great coaches, great teammates. Even actually have some of those here. John Holler and his wife are here tonight. That was all a part of that team, those teams. I appreciate them for being here. That's what it was all about. We had each other's back. There was no race. There was no nothing. We all went together. If we went someplace, there might have been 30 of us there. That's just how we were. That's how we came together. It wasn't me. It wasn't anybody else. It was just God put me in a great place and at a great time. My career, same thing. I've been very fortunate in my coaching career when I was coaching, because for him to put certain coaches in my life to help me through, parents that I met. Mr. and Ms. Clyde Hill, I appreciate you for being here. Again, those are just parents that were in my life back when I was coaching. Robin Hardy, same thing, back when I was at Eisenhower at one time. Coaches that I coached with John also at Eisenhower, at Kirby, coached with him at Eisenhower as well. I mean, to have all these people here tonight, it's just amazing. It's unreal to be able to share that with them. Then first and foremost, again, my immediate family. I've got two beautiful, wonderful girls, Jordan and Blakely, that I love so very much, and I'm so honored that they're here with me to be able to share this. My wonderful wife, Denise, that's come into my life, to stick through me, or stick with me. Ups and downs that happen. Again, God has blessed me, and nothing to do with it. This honor has nothing to do with me. It has to do with all my teammates and people that put me here, that helped put me here. But I am so honored. I want to thank all of those that have showed up. It is a wonderful honor. Again, it's very humbling to be up here in front of you and to share this with family and friends and people that I've met and have come in contact with throughout the years. Jackson, Cameron Athletics, the university. This place is amazing. It didn't look like this when I was here. This is amazing. I think I even asked him today, asked Mr. Jackson today, are we having this in the mezzanine? I had no idea. But it is a great, humbling experience, and I want to thank you very much.
I didn't even know what the mezzanine was. The Cameron University Athletics Hall of Fame is 5 years old and 35 members strong. I would like to thank the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for doing a fine job once again. If your favorite student athlete, coach, booster, or whoever associated with Cameron Athletics has not been inducted, I encourage you to nominate them. There's a nomination form in your program tonight. You know, there's so many that are deserving out there, but they won't be inducted unless people nominate them. So I encourage you to nominate your favorite person. A couple announcements before we wrap up. We will be having a volleyball reunion of all volleyball, Cameron volleyball players tomorrow at a brunch tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock in the Cetus Conference Center. Rumor is that a lot of these past players and coaches will be gathering tonight at my sports grill. You're invited to go down and make reacquaintances with them. Please don't forget that right after this at 8:30, there is a bonfire right across the street over in the parking lot. And the basketball coaches will be speaking, the cheerleaders and the dancers will be performing. Please stop by and lend your support. Saturday, tomorrow, is full of activities. Coffees, brunches, gatherings of special groups. Please don't forget about the tailgating tomorrow. The Chuck Wagon cook-offs at 12:30 outside the Aggie gym. The baseball doubleheader starts at 1 o'clock. And the basketball games tip off at 2. Now I want to speak of something special to basketball. Both our men and women's team have qualified for the Lone Star Conference tournament in Allen, Texas. Allen, Texas. That's 3 hours from here, February 29th through March 4th. I want to congratulate both the coaching staffs and the teams. And Wade and Tommy, I got that special feeling. I think something great's going to happen. I'm proud of you. I encourage you to go to Allen for this special event and support your Aggies. There will be photo opportunities immediately following our adjournment. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one more time, I would like for the class of 2012 to come back up here. And the symbol over here, Hillary, Joe, Robert, James Tuffy, congratulations. Mike, for Leroy Montgomery, please come up. Lonnie for Charlie Dean, please come up, if you would, right here. Now we're going to have a photo opportunity after we adjourn, so not to take too much time. But ladies and gentlemen, that is your class of 2012. Remain up here, and I want, first of all, I want to tell you, please sit down, it's my making sure. I want to tell you about Coaches Montgomery and Dean. You know, they're not with us tonight physically, but I know that they are proud of what their 1961 National Championship team has done in their honor. They have endowed scholarship, the endowed scholarship of the 1961 National Championship Junior Rose Bowl team to be given annually to a Cameron student athlete that's exhausted their eligibility. This scholarship will help many young men and women complete their degree here at Cameron. If you want to be a part of this endowed scholarship, or if you want to endow a scholarship of your own, or your team wants to, there's pledge cards will be outside on the table. Fill them out, return them to the athletic department or to the University Advancement Department. Albert Johnson, or myself. The guys in 1961, I know that the coaches are smiling down on you. Now, will all of the members of the Cameron University Hall of Fame that are in the audience tonight please come up and join the class of 2012. Now I'm going to ask you guys, this whole group, to stay up here afterwards so people can take photos, and then we'll take away and get right to the class of 2012. But ladies and gentlemen, this is your Cameron Athletics Hall of Fame. What a crew. Thanks for coming tonight. Please drive safe on your way home. Let's do it again next year, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you.